Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Today's video, IOTX, or known as IOTEX, the actual company and project behind this token utility. Before we go into more detail of this project, do make sure you check out all the other videos on the channel. Loads of different topics, variations of conversation, and different assets, of course, as well. And do not forget, if you have not done so already, to please make sure that you smash that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up as well for the channel. Really massively appreciate that as we build momentum towards 10,000 subscribers. Quite crazy, really. It's been a fun ride. Absolutely love having everyone here on board with us here on the Whales of Wall Street. So guys, let's go straight into this. IOTX is one of my favorite projects. I say it's about all the ones I do videos on, to be honest. Although I do, to be fair, do videos I don't hold as well for you guys out there. But for this principle, it might be worth you guys, when you get some time, to check out the intro video that we have on this particular project. But for me, anything AI related and certainly related to things like IoT are very interesting to me. So my background or some of my history of my career is in AI and IoT. AI, artificial intelligence, does cover a multitude of different avenues and spectrums. Particularly of interest to me in this conversation today is around machine-to-machine learning and deep learning algorithm as well. How does this incorporate with blockchain in general? And there are some really good AI related projects out there. I'm sure when we go into the list in a second, you'll see some of the ones that you probably hold already or have at least heard of. And we will be doing a dedicated AI video later today, which we did a while back, but it's always good to do a bit of a refresh and a recap for everyone's minds for sure. So let's go into this. So obviously IOTX is the token behind IOTEX, and these guys are very much heavily building it's kind of like data algorithm portfolio, integrating with loads of different projects. Of course, it does help with things like people wanting to build and develop on their chain, but also through things like building games, etc. But one of the main avenues around IOTX is a multitude of things, really. Actually, they've got the Pebble device, for example, which you can use as almost, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a tracking facility. You can walk around with this thing, you can actually own tokens and everything like that, but it creates algorithms and data based on your environment that's around you. Even things like humidity, it could be weather patterns, it could be traffic, it could be all sorts of information, right? And these are like the stepping stone approaches, like they have been for like maybe 5 to 10 years now, of building data around people, around behavior of people, and this next phase, guys, being machine to machine learning. Now there's a big difference partially between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So there's a good little post here from Microsoft. Now, for me personally, I had to know everything under the sun about AI and machine learning and deep learning. Deep learning is very interesting to me. Some of the technology that I've been involved with is absolutely brilliant in some capacities, but also strange in others. But this is the ability where machines learn by themselves, and permit a machine to train itself and perform a task. This sounds a bit sci-fi, right? This sounds like something like way in the future. But this is something that's already been around for a long time, guys. Even like the cameras that you see in like streets and things like this, a lot of them have algorithmic data in them, and even the possibilities, which is still being trialed right now, of seeing things like if someone's angry in the street, for example, it can detect like the anger and then do like a predictability of what might happen with this person in the coming hours or minutes, and perhaps even stop something from happening as it advances. You know how people get emotional and angry, even like traffic situations. You see it in London all the time, people getting out of their cars, shouting things, and all of a sudden something worse happens. So it's this kind of like really interesting approach towards humans, but also of course the machine aspect of learning things like we talked about before, where we think about like drones harvesting and seeding food and crops based on algorithmic data across the world of supply and demand. And the use of blockchain comes in because of the transactional aspect, hopefully near enough feeless, which means that any time you take something out of the fridge, it reorders. But also, you imagine how many people there are in the UK, and then multiply that significantly because of all the people around the world. All this supply demand mechanism kicks in, especially as we move towards things things like autonomous cars and transportation, supply mechanisms, all these things, it all interlaces. And if you take that step back, of course, we started with the artificial intelligence aspect. This is where humans kind of gave a bit more power to computing, right, over the last few decades. As more and more time has come across, we even use things today like predictive text, like the abilities, like when you're using things, even like AI design now, they can like dictate a picture or an image based on the topics that you're trying to achieve, and then it just makes it for you and all this kind of stuff, right? So there's a nice step-in approach here, and then we get to the machine learning. So this is where AI includes a technique that enables machines to improve at tasks with experience. This is crazy, guys, like computing. And we could even go as far as robotics. You know, Elon Musk always talks about like eventually humans, consciousness could go into robotics, into hybrid humans that are biological / robotic. But more importantly, from a robot perspective of doing things that humans can do, or doing things for us for whatever reason. I mean, people have the argument that what do we do if we don't have jobs? Well, that's why basic universal income's coming, because this whole transition into, albeit over a 5, 10, 15, 20 year process, being more related and reliant on computing and robotics. So we've got this really interesting stepping stone into the deep learning aspect. It's phenomenal, guys. It's absolutely amazing. And this is where it all interlaces, and this is where it has a really big, deep understanding and connection to blockchain. So we take IoT, this is Internet of Things. Now, again, in my history of career, I've worked with smart home and IoT products. This is where things become automated in your home. Things like thermostats, smart bulbs, smart cameras, all of these things, and then they all talk to each other, right? So the camera can turn the light on because it's detected movement and stuff like this outside the home. But then we expand that to things like VR. We expand it to things like smoke detection, security, air cons, HVAC units. We can talk about biometrics. We can talk about entry points, and we can talk about things like cars, where you are in the country, or do you need assistance? Do you need an SOS? Are you running out of fuel? Where's the nearest fuel station to you? And it all interlaces, right? So all of this comes into privacy and data, which is obviously encrypted. And then this is where the algorithm, if you like, what IOTX call the W3B stream, i.e. web stream, essentially, pulling this all together, creating the verification process, and then entering it into blockchain for the action to be completed. This whole process is done in milliseconds, and that's why I'm talking about the aspect of the excitement, if you like, of transactions being done per second. This is why people talk about transactions per second. You shouldn't just think of it as like finance. This is an action. I want to reiterate this point, is an action. Anything and everything that is done through any of these devices and products and processes is considered an action. And this is why we look at these kind of projects. And particularly for me, I'm very interested in projects, not just on blockchain in general, but the ones that devise an AI capability and application too, because AI, in my opinion, is part of the major evolution of the next phase of blockchain. It's as simple as that, whether it's to do with trading, whether it's to do with product creation, supply, demand, transportation, all of these things, right? Logistics, everything you can possibly think of. So this is really interesting aspect to what is possible. And we mentioned here about like weather, traffic, carbon derivatives. When we're all on autonomous cars and they perhaps don't even have these kind of like fuel capacities anymore, it's all battery, right? Which is what we're moving towards. But then we'll have like wireless charging. We'll have the ability to move cars about. Or if you remember the film I, Robot, when he's driving through the tunnels, if you haven't seen it already, it's quite fun, because this film was like probably like 15 years ago now, but it showed things in the future and you're sort of laughing at it, but actually it was such a short space of time until that time was coming. Contactless payments, driverless cars, robotics, making things, engineering things, all this kind of stuff, right? So really interesting developments in humanity and of course machine as well. So you've got all these things linking together, and things like the IOTX have, as I mentioned about the Pebble and these other devices, quite interesting. As I said, these are stepping stones. They like give you the opportunity to go, okay, I'm going to learn more about this. So people can start utilizing these kind of things if they want to detect information and data. And this goes back into the system of data building. And this is when then interlaces with pushing it into artificial intelligence. Then the machine learns from consumer behavior or people behavior in general to apply it to anything and everything. And then the deep learning mechanism of really understanding the in-depth things that we have in our consciousness into machine. That's how it operates, and that's how the transition will occur as time goes by. And I want to bring this into the equation as well, because Hyperledger Fabric, this is a big, massive consortium where there's huge projects like Quant and Accenture and all these amazing, big, massive companies, Oracle and all this, coming together, even IBM, for example, and creating the blockchain systems that we don't even know about or hear about. We just see things in the crypto sphere. And we're very fortunate in some cases, like Quant, for example, to be able to be a part of that in terms of investment and utilization of the tokens aspect. However, there is a lot of blockchain, Hyperledger Fabric, for example, already ahead, if you like, of Ethereum. A lot of projects and companies build on this and work together on this already. And part of this is about this. Innovfin, this is an aspect of investment and integration of artificial intelligence and blockchain technologies together as a full initiative. And as I said, there's a multitude of projects involved in this, but this is what is occurring in the background. People don't really understand this or know that this is happening. I just know from the years of experience, right? And the information and knowledge that I've received. So when we talk about EFSI and the EU member aspects and European Commission, all these things go in the background. We're always kind of partially distracted, right, by the crypto sphere and the markets and stuff like this. But actually in the background, there is significant development occurring aside from all we hear about Ethereum, about Bitcoin and all these things. Things have already been going on for the last 5-6 years, maybe even longer, with huge companies, guys, huge algorithmic data-driven companies to really enhance the next wave of humanity and the way we interact with technology and how things are done for us. So it's really interesting, and this is why I pull back to IOTX, because these guys are working on similar application and aspects, the whole machine-fi building. And the incorporation, as I said, they've got marketplaces, got ability for people to develop and build things like games on there. And this all interlaces together. And eventually, who knows which blockchains will survive and which projects will survive over the next few years? Will they get bought out? Will they be taken over? Or will they be integrated with other things that are already existing that we don't know about or see in the mainstream view? This is where it gets interesting for me. And this is why I'm a holder of IOTX. I do stake IOTX as well on their IOPay wallet. If you would like a video on how to stake IOTX tokens, let me know. It's quite cool, especially in the bear markets and winter markets. It's a great opportunity to let the money do the work for you. It's a great principle. But for me, this whole technology and this excitement around what they're developing, this isn't new, by the way. They've been working on this for a few years now, and it's now the next phase. All the other things being kind of finished or completed or in the final development stages, they can now work fully on this full integration piece, and very much good timing with, as I said, Hyperledger Fabric and all the other big projects out there over the next few years. This is when we're going to start seeing huge development and integration of AI and blockchain into our world. You may not even know it's happening, or you may not even know that you're probably using things that are already doing it. That's the crazy thing about this. So guys, a bit of a topic overview of IOTX. Let's jump into the chart of IOTX. Of course, with this particular token at the moment, if it behaves itself, once the chart starts working, we can see that actually it hasn't been moving a significant amount over the last few days. Let's ping this in. So we've got here 2.4 cents currently as of literally a couple of hours ago, and it's fluctuating around this time in this particular area. So what we've got here data wise, I'll just pull this back, you can see the movements that IOTX had in the previous points, right? So top level areas around sort of 26-27 cents back here in 2021, like a lot of the market did, a lot of the other assets did, right? So we've had this downward trend, we're hitting these bottom areas. Now I always like to look at areas that are even lower than where we are today. I'd love it to stabilize and hold, but there's an opportunity potentially, if things continue and the macro events around the world continue, that we might see a bit more downward trend with Bitcoin, and thus the rest of the market tends to pull down as well. So at the moment, we're in a really strong position with IOTX because we're matching the points that we saw here earlier in 2022 and all the way through the middle ranges of 2022 as well. This kind of matches really with this fib retracement level. Now, by the way, this area is taken from one of the lower points back here, January 2021. So I've taken this spectrum, you see the longer term, and we've also got a macro one here, which takes that bottom area and to one of the most recent top points that we've seen in the charts. So actually I can even pull this across up a bit more, just so we've got the most recent top area, and it still matches up. So right now we're testing this area here, 0.024, round about that area, okay? We tried to have a touchdown to 0.021, you could call that up 2 cents arguably. But for me, from a buying perspective, is like, well, if the market does come down, where are my positions of buying in the lower regions? Well, you could, of course, come down just under that 2 cents. But actually, I'm going to be getting a buy order in shortly on the limit order of 0.017. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's definitely coming down that area, but I like to try and accumulate as much as I can at lower prices as possible. It could, in theory, potentially, eventually come down and test these prior movement areas at under 1 cent. Now, I think that would be a bit of a shame if it did come to that, but at the moment we're seeing strength in the sense that it's a bit stabilized. A lot of assets don't really show this stabilization in such a long period of time. Since May, it's not really moved a significant amount, between 2 and 4 cents. So that's a really good confident aspect. It's probably helped with the fact that you can stake as well. For those that have been doing that, there's some good APY on there and some really good validators. They really pride themselves on good validators and elections of those, and you can even see the really intricate detail of who you're sharing your tokens with to do the staking with. So really cool aspects there. But yeah, for me, I'm just having these areas of opportunity just in case, but I do generally accumulate IOTX under 5 cents at various stages anyway. I think this is going to be a top project. I do think it will smash through over the next few years its previous highs. And who knows, we might get to that dollar by 2025. We'll have to see. But as I said, it's all about utility and it's all about the adoption. And I think over the next 5-10 years, you're going to see significant adoption, not just of IOTX, but a lot of the AI projects that are out there. We do have a nice list. And as I said, we'll do a video on that later today around AI in general as a big topic for our live video edition. Guys, of course, with the RSIs, it's always interesting to look at this as well to identify where we are with the aspect of IOTX in terms of a buying opportunity. So currently 14-day at 40, 28-day at 43. These are really good buy points in general from a manual purchasing perspective. Of course, I would like to see if this comes down a bit more. The 14-day did hit 37, I think yesterday or the day before as well. So there's a bit of fluctuation going on at the moment, but not significant amounts of reductions in movements here. So as of a week ago, we were at 3.6 cents. We're now down at 2.4. So it has lost a cent, and it makes it a bit more appealing to me right now to be doing those manual areas right here this second. But also appealing to me is some potential lower regions as well. You can see on the performance indicator on the right hand side, we've got a drop of 28% on that week. But look at that, the year is at 89%. There's a huge amount of growth to be had. That's going to take some time to get that back, but you can at least anticipate in your mind that this is a good project. Do your own research anyway, of course, look into this and definitely look into the more detail about AI in general with blockchain, because there will be significant moves on these kind of projects. But this is one I've followed a long time. It's one I've accumulated for a long time. It's one I'm trying to build as much as I can of, as with the other ones too. They might not all win, but that's the beauty of it, is spreading that portfolio across a multitude of projects that you believe in or want to believe in. So we're floating around this area, and as I said, it's a good buy area to come. I'm not really going to go into too much detail about like where I think it's going to go over the next few weeks, other than the fact that we've got to just look at the possibility and the anticipation that we're not over yet with all the FUD, with all the information coming out, with all the bad news, if you like, around crypto and the world in general. So you just have to be cautious, guys, play it safe and have those positions ready. They might not come in, and if it goes up, brilliant, you've made money right on these existing positions. So that's how dollar cost averaging has a big benefit. But there's movement to be had, guys, and IOTX for me is a top project. Great team behind it, very coordinated and communicated with their people, investors and people in general. I'm really pleased with this one. I've been holding for like 2 or so years now. So guys, let us know if you're holding this one, what you think about it. But for sure we'll be doing the AI video later. We'll look at things like Ocean, Singularity, Fetch, this one, IOTA, and a couple of others as well that I've actually been holding and forgot about, Matrix AI and a couple of other ones. So we'll just talk about it in more detail and a few examples of how the AI industry will integrate with blockchain over the next few years properly, with some really cool examples. Guys, we'll wrap that up there. Please don't forget to make sure that you smash that subscribe button and that like button as well before you leave. But guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next IOTX video. Take care and bye-bye.